Good morning, guys. Today we are back home in my hometown of Palmer, Alaska. This is where I grew up. This is where I first started filming this YouTube channel, and today this is where the next chapter of the journey begins. So I get a ton of you guys all the time down in Florida where I live now asking me, what's it like to live in Alaska in the wintertime? And more specifically, the question I usually get is, what do you do in the wintertime? And I think the big misconception about Alaska is that when it gets really cold outside like it is right now, it's like -8 degrees outside this morning, that most people just sit around in their house and do nothing. And that's actually not the case. Despite how cold it gets up here and how dark it is for a lot of the day, there's actually a lot of stuff to do. So the goal of this video is just to get out. We're gonna be doing some ice fishing today, kind of throw it back to where I first started this channel. Should be a fun one, guys. I'll see you guys out there on the lake. It's so cold, the zipper on my jacket is frozen shut. On the way up here into the mountains, it cooled down to -19 degrees as it sits in the parking lot right now. So, a little cold. So we're gonna give this a shot right here. This is a spot that I've fished several times before, so I've got a pretty good gauge at the depth before I even start drilling holes. But it looks like someone already had their ice house set up here. There's a few holes kind of pre-drilled and frozen over that don't look like they're too old. And there's some blood on the ice, so it's always a good sign. It means maybe they were pulling some fish up. So we're gonna get the tent set up here, give this a shot, and if we have to move around, we definitely can, but I'm trying not to. So those are probably at least yesterday. They're completely frozen over, so I have to get the auger out to get through this. Nice. It is cold outside. Some of the steam is gonna dissipate a little bit once the heater gets it warmed up in here, and it's already considerably warmer than it is outside, but it's about -18, -19 degrees out there right now. So I've got everything set up, but what you guys just saw, all that stuff, that's what goes into catching some fish in the wintertime here in Alaska. It's cold, it's a lot of work, a lot of physical energy to pull all that stuff out here, but Man, when you get on some fish, it's worth it. When you get skunked, it sucks. I think we're probably gonna be anywhere between 10 and 20 feet. Anything in that range is gonna be just fine. So as long as we're there, we're A-okay. So it looks like right now we're sitting in about 18, 19 feet of water, which perfect depth. That's kind of right where I was hoping for. We're marking some fish kind of midway through the water column right now. Also seeing some stuff down on the bottom. So definitely good signs of life. When we start getting some bait down there, hopefully we should start getting some good quick bites. So I've got kind of a variety of different things that I'm gonna try out here today. But just to kind of get us started off, I'm gonna start super small. I am seeing some fish down there that I'm guessing are probably going to be Arctic char on the smaller side. So I've got some 6-pound fluorocarbon leader down to just this little Castmaster spoon, just super micro stuff. We're just gonna do a little bit of micro jigging on an ultralight setup, see if we can get a bite. We're gonna tip that with some good old salmon eggs. These are great for trout fishing, especially on a lake like this where there are stocked fish in here. Arctic char, stocked rainbow trout, they'll all eat these. It's kind of a weird presentation in the wintertime because it's not a natural bait this time of year. But these little stocky fish, they love them. If it's a wild lake, you have a little bit less luck using this kind of thing, but we'll give it a shot. All right, so there's our bait right there. Got that little micro jig with a little salmon egg on there. Let's drop it down, see what we can get. I'm marking quite a bit. There we go. What we got here? All right, guys, first fish, ice fishing in about 3 years. So that is a little Arctic char. These guys are super cool little fish. Let's go ahead and get him back. See you later, buddy. It's always nice to break the ice early. Those are one of my favorite fish to catch. They get really big in this lake. ADF&G stocks a lot of those guys around the valley area here in south central Alaska, and they also occur naturally in a lot of these lakes as well. This is one where they do occur naturally and they also supplement that by stocking. So a lot of these smaller ones are stocked fish, but I have caught several in this lake that do get a lot bigger. So hoping for one of those, but that was a nice little start. Micro jig did really well. I love using real small stuff like this, these little tiny Castmaster spoons. They're great for ice fishing because you can just vertically jig them on these ultralight rods. It's a really easy way to just kind of test the waters, literally. Kind of find where those fish are hanging out in the water column, figure out what they're doing. You can tip them with all kind of baits. So like right now we have it tipped with those little salmon eggs, those little potski ones you can buy at the store. You can tip these with chunks of whitefish, tip them with shrimp, pretty much whatever you want to kind of imitate that natural bait that they're eating. Got them. Get my hand wet. All right, another nice little Arctic char. Let's send that guy back. See you later, buddy. It's super important to get your hands wet before handling these fish, and even more so here. Trout species, char species, lake trout, which a lot of people don't know are actually a char species and not a trout species. You've got to get your hands wet before handling these fish and get them back quick, because if you don't, your dry hands can actually take that slime coating off the outside of their body, and that's what helps protect them from different bacteria and illnesses, and it can actually cause the fish to die, even though it looks like you got a safe release back down the hole. So I'm seeing a lot of good marks moving midway through the water column right now. So I'm going to drop this down probably to about the 10-foot mark. Just do some jigging there for a minute and see what we can pick up. Oh, instant. This one feels like a lot smaller of a fish. Oh, we lost him right at the hole too. Got him. That's a little bit better of a fish. That guy unhooked there. Give you guys just a quick little look at that fish. We're gonna get him on back. I'm bummed that I forgot my chesty, because that's kind of limiting what I'm able to do filming wise, so I'll try to get you guys a close-up of one of these fish, but as much as I want to, I'm trying to get them back in the water as quick as possible. The mortality rate for char and trout is a lot higher if you keep them out of the water longer. They're a pretty delicate species, even though they're a very aggressive predator species, and you would think that they would be, you know, durable and a real hardy fish. They're really not, and you can kill them very easy, especially in the more wild lakes that we have around here, which is another really cool thing about this part of Alaska that you don't have in, you know, a majority of the rest of the United States. Is a lot of these trout lakes that we have here are all wild, and a lot of the river and stream systems that we have in this part of the state are all wild. It's just really important, especially if you're fishing a wild lake, to handle the fish as best as you can, get them back in the water, try not to showboat them too much. I'm probably going to try doing some different stuff here in a few minutes. We got 3 fish on the board already, but the little micro jig with the salmon egg is doing really well right now, so keep rocking that for a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm giving a good sharp pop and then just letting that micro jig just kind of drift down towards the bottom. Pop, let it drift down. And that's the nice part about using this super light micro stuff, is that those fish, what they're looking for, oh, we lost that one. What those fish are looking for is, you know, the imitation of a dying bait fish, something that's drifting down towards the bottom, struggling, giving off those vibrations in the water, and that's what really entices them to strike that bait. So when you let it flutter down like that, that's what you're trying to imitate, is that dying bait fish kind of slowly drifting down towards the bottom, and these guys just go crazy for it. Got him. This ultralight stuff is just a ton of fun, man. Like, everyone loves getting into the big fish. I get it. I mean, I can't say that I don't prefer catching big fish myself, but there's something about this just ultralight stuff, picking up a fish every drop. It's a ton of fun. See if we can't give you guys a quick little better look at that fish right there. These are really cool fish, man. These char, you can see the speckles they've got on their back. A lot of times you'll catch them and they'll have you know, the speckles will be really orange or really pink, and in the I think it's the fall time, if I remember correctly, their bellies will get bright orange, and that's when they're spawning. So I think it's the males. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on char by any means, but I think it's the males will get that bright orange belly when they get to a mature age. And really, I think it's mostly the wild fish. I don't think the stockies really do all that much, but those wild char will just get beautiful orange colors on them. It's incredible. Let's see if we can't go for one more. I've got our little Castmaster micro jig here set up with that egg on there. See if we can get one more of these guys, and then I think we're going to up the ante a little bit. I'm going to switch over to the heavier rod. I'm going to put a little bit bigger of a presentation on there with a little chunk of whitefish, tipping it, and see if maybe we can start getting into some of these bigger fish. Got him. All right, pop that hook out of himself, self-release, always a bonus. Got him. So that's a real pretty little Arctic char right there. This one's got a lot more kind of pink to his side, almost like a rainbow trout. You can see those yellowish orange kind of pink spots that he's got on his back there. So I'm going to put the micro away. That was a lot of fun. I would like to get something bigger. I don't know if it's going to work out, but we're going to switch over to the heavier rod. And I've got that set up with the Columbia River Tackle jig head here. I think this is going to be a little bit large of a presentation. So I've got that presentation switched over to a much smaller one right here. You can see against my hand how small this is. And it's actually the same basic concept. So it's a little jig head. This one's only an 1/8 ounce though, so it's a lot smaller. We'll get a lot slower sink, which will make that kind of downward spiral dead bait fish thing a lot better. And also the nice thing about this is you can see that it's also a little paddle tail right here. Really great action on that, so we're gonna give it a shot. And what I like to do is I like to take some of my whitefish. It's not really practical to tip these smaller size jigs with the whitefish because it's so heavy that it will affect their jigging presentation. But I like to just take that and just rub it all over that whitefish, get those oils on there. It's the same basic principle as using like Procure, scents like that. Just rub it all over that jig head. see what we can find. I'm hoping these smaller ones won't go after this presentation. I'm hoping it'll be just big enough to where we're only targeting the larger size char, but we'll see. There are also some absolute hog rainbow trout. There's a fish. He came off. Well, that's a good sign. Anyway, what I was saying, that felt like a good fish too, man. I'm sitting here running my mouth. Got him. Alright, what do we got here? That's a little bit better one. He's not big, but he's better. Nice little Arctic char right there. You can see that jig lodged right in the corner of his mouth. Beautiful little fish. He's got a little bit more size to him than some of those other ones. He's not big by any means, but we're getting there. Got him. That's a little bit better of a fish. A little bit better of a fish right here. So we're gonna change things up a little bit. I decided to go with a different color here. So we're gonna try a white, and it's got these glow kind of chartreuse paddles on it. I've got it tipped with some whitefish, and also I rubbed this thing all over inside that whitefish pack. I've got this rigged up now with 4-pound fluorocarbon, so super light stuff. So hopefully that will entice some of these bigger, maybe more cautious fish to bite the lure. And I rigged that up on this ultralight setup here, so maybe we can have a little bit more fun too if we hook into some of these bigger fish. There's fish. I felt that one. He took that on the drop. Decent little char there. Yeah, these guys like these tube jigs. Even these smaller size fish seem to be having no problem with them here. See ya. There's one. He just wanted it to hit the bottom. Oh, don't knock over the PBR, man. All right, there we go. Nice little char on that Columbia River 1/8 ounce tube. You guys, one last look at him. Beautiful little fish. And away he goes. Might be a little bit better there. Feels like he might be snagged. This might be a better fish. Better get this out of the way. Nope, 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 nope. I said get out of my hole. This is either a better fish or I got him snagged. I'm not really sure which, but he feels decent. Oh, I lost him right at the hole. No! That was probably the best one that we've hooked into so far. That sucks. That sucks. Classic James screwing around with camera stuff and lost a fish. I'm definitely finding that this is kind of a key step to this. I mean, granted, these are just little stockies. They're not the brightest fish. They'll really eat anything you put down there, but it seems like a lot of the bites really slow down the longer that bait has been in the water after rubbing that whitefish juice on there. So I'm finding that kind of bringing it up every so often and kind of refreshing it with that juice is really, really helping us in the bite department here. Here's fish. This is a smaller fish. I'm just going to kind of bring him up here. Another little Arctic char. Send him back. Get that bait juice back up. There we go. There's a fish. Took it right off the bottom of the lake. I let it just kind of drop down and sit there. And scooped it right up. This might be a better fish here. Might be. Let's see if we can get that fish finder transducer out of the way. Yeah, this feels like it might be a little bit of a better one here. Make sure that camera's going this time. It's because we snagged him in the tail. Dang, dude, I thought you were a bigger fish. There you go, bud. So when I rig this whitefish up, when I tip these tube jigs with it, I like to just run it through the skin. So I'll cut this off in chunks that still have the skin on the back side of it. Run it through, make sure you've got a good hook set on it through that skin. And then I like to bring it around and tuck it down inside the tail. And it's important not to get chunks that are too big, that are going to fan that tail out too much and affect the jigging action. Because the point of these tube jigs is you want that tail to flutter up and down as you jig it in the water. So just get a small enough chunk just to give it some scent. Tuck it down inside there. I like to bring the skirt up around it, just like that. And then before we drop it down, we'll take a chunk of that whitefish and get this all scented up. And you can use ProCure, same thing that we use down in Florida for, like, you know, mullet ProCure, shrimp flavored ProCure. They also make a whitefish flavored ProCure for places just like this. There's a fish. This is just a little guy right here. I set the rod down to make sure the microphone was still connected to the camera. This dude came in and munched it right up. All right, there he is, guys. Another nice little Arctic char, little chunky boy. A lot of these fish, especially these stockers, just get they get super skinny. They're almost like a pencil. And then going into spring, after they've been under the ice all winter long, they really slow down and they're literally just like a slender little pencil. So it's cool when you find some of the fatter ones that have been eating a little bit better. They put up a little bit more of a fight, even though overall they're the same length of a fish. So alrighty, guys, I think that's just about going to do it for this episode. The sun is starting to set. Look at this beautiful backdrop. These gorgeous orange, pink, glowing mountains. It doesn't get much better than this, and I'm so stoked to be back home and be able to get out and share this stuff with you guys. I'm sure some of you that have been here since the very beginning will remember this is a lot of what I was doing when I first started this YouTube channel, was coming out here, figuring out the ice fishing thing, exploring some of these frozen lakes, and this is one of my favorite ones here. There are really big fish in this lake. We didn't get into any today. A lot of the ones that we found today were just little stockies, but I think it was a really great way to kind of, you know, get back into it after 3 years of not doing this thing. We caught tons of fish today. Good way to get back into it, and a good building block for what I want to do on the rest of this trip. So I'm hoping that this will just be the first video in a series of videos that I'm able to film while I'm up here. I've got another week and a half right here in the south central region of Alaska. We've got a lot of lakes that are extremely deep, very cold, set up in the mountains, and in the wintertime they can be really fantastic. So just a really cool and unique fishery that we have here, but I'm excited with what we were able to do today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys coming along on this adventure. Definitely feels good to be back out here, but it is starting to get cold. It's about negative 20 degrees right now. That sun's gonna start setting and I still have to pack all this stuff up, get it in the sled and tow it all the way back to the parking lot to a freezing cold car. So I'm gonna get on that, guys. Thank you for coming along. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we can make something else happen while we're up here in Alaska.